This happened to me in late August of last year, just before the fall semester started. I go to college in Virginia, but my family lives in upstate New York, so I was driving home one last time before school picked back up. My cousin Taylor texted me while I was about halfway through Delaware and said her family was out of town for a wedding and asked if I could swing by their beach house in a little place called Pelican Cove. The job was simple. Check if the hurricane shutters had closed properly, make sure no water had leaked in, and flip the circuit breaker since they always turn the power off when they leave. Easy stuff. It wasn't a last-minute errand I wanted to do, but it was kind of on the way, and I figured it'd give me a chance to stretch my legs before the rest of the drive home. I'd been to that house a few times growing up, and it always had this weird energy. I don't mean haunted or anything. Not back then, at least. It just never felt like a family beach house, you know? The furniture was super old, like antique old, and the layout was awkward. The living room had no windows, which made it feel like a bunker more than a vacation home. But the location? It was perfect. Just 5 minutes from the water, tucked between dunes with a front porch that wrapped around the entire structure. When I pulled into the long gravel driveway, the sun was already setting, casting everything in that orangey golden hour glow. I parked my car and immediately noticed the wind had picked up a bit. One of those salty, sticky ocean breezes that carries the smell of seaweed and wet wood. I went in through the side entrance, and the second I opened the door, I got hit with this damp, musty smell. The kind of smell that makes your nose wrinkle before your brain even registers it. The inside was dark. Not pitch black, but that sort of dusty dimness that settles into a place when no one's lived there for a while. I flipped the hallway switch and only one of the 3 ceiling lights flickered on. No big deal. I'd seen worse. I moved through the usual checklist. No flooding, no signs of break-ins. The shutters were all secure. I flipped the breakers on and heard the old refrigerator in the kitchen rumble to life. The silence started to break, just a little, with the hum of electricity returning. I should have left right after. That was the plan. But then I remembered something Taylor mentioned in her text, that she thought she'd left her laptop upstairs in the master bedroom. She asked me to check, and if I found it, to take it home with me so it wouldn't sit there for weeks. No problem. I climbed the creaky wooden staircase, and I swear every time I took a step, it sounded like the house exhaled under me. The master bedroom was at the end of the hall, past 2 smaller rooms that still had bunk beds from when Taylor and I were kids. I opened the master door and the air inside was immediately cooler, almost cold. There were 3 windows, all shuttered from the outside, and just 1 floor lamp in the corner. I turned it on, but the light was so weak it barely lit half the room. I scanned around. No laptop on the dresser, nothing on the bed. I checked the closet, and that's when I saw it. The door to the walk-in closet was locked. Not from the inside, but with one of those cheap sliding latches you install yourself on the outside, which meant someone had intentionally secured it shut. That was weird for a couple reasons. First, there had never been a latch on that door before. I was sure of it. Second, why would you ever need to lock your own closet from the outside? I stared at the latch for a few seconds, almost like I was waiting for it to unlatch on its own. Then I called Taylor. She picked up right away. "Hey, did you say the laptop was in the master bedroom?" "Yeah," she said, "it should have been on the bed. You don't see it?" "No," I said, "but, do you guys keep your closet locked now?" She paused. "What? No, why?" "There's a latch on it. Like a new one on the outside of the closet door." She went totally silent. "I didn't put that there," she said finally. "We haven't even been there since Memorial Day." Then she asked me to describe the latch. I did. She went quiet again and said something I'll never forget. "Hey, John, that door doesn't stay shut. Not since we bought the place. It swings open on its own unless you prop something against it. It felt like my stomach dropped into my shoes. My hand was still on the latch, but I immediately yanked it away. "Should I open it?" I asked, regretting the question the second it came out. Taylor hesitated, then said, "If you're going to, put me on speaker." I did. And then, I don't even know why I did it, I unlatched the door. It swung open almost instantly like it had been pulled, and there was nothing inside. No laptop, no clothes, no boxes, just an empty, dark space and a faint smell I couldn't identify. Like sweat and metal. I backed away slowly, phone still in my hand, not saying anything. Then Taylor said something else that chilled me to my core. "Wait, did you say you turned on the breaker earlier?" "Yeah? Then how come the closet light's off?" I stopped. There was a light in that closet, a pull cord light that always came on when the power was on. I knew it. I remembered it. It used to flicker like crazy. But right now, it was pitch black inside. I stepped back toward the door, my legs refusing to go further, and reached inside to tug the pull cord. The second I did, a light did flick on. But it wasn't the closet light. It was the lamp behind me, the one I had already turned on. Except, I hadn't. I swear I hadn't touched it. I screamed and dropped my phone. Taylor was still yelling my name on speaker, but I wasn't listening. I sprinted out of that room, down the stairs, out the front door, and into my car. I didn't even lock the door behind me. I didn't stop driving until I hit the state line. The laptop, by the way. Taylor found it 3 weeks later. It was under the bunk bed in one of the kids' rooms, covered in dust and turned on. The screen? Completely black except for one thing. A text document that just said, "Don't open the door." This happened to my older brother Daniel and his girlfriend Kelsey 2 summers ago. I wasn't there, but I remember every chilling detail because I was the one who helped them get out of the situation. And I still don't know if they're fully over it. They'd rented a beach house for a 4-day getaway along the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Not the touristy part. This place was deep in a quiet residential stretch, practically hidden between sand dunes and sea oats. It was isolated, peaceful, and frankly a little eerie even in daylight. There weren't many neighbors nearby, and the ones that were had their homes boarded up for the season. According to Daniel, the house was beautiful, rustic, lots of wood, giant windows facing the dunes. No curtains, just open glass looking out to an endless stretch of sand. He sent me pictures the first night, showing off their dinner setup and the sunset view from the second-floor deck. They'd arrived late Thursday afternoon, unpacked, cooked a little dinner, and spent most of the evening on the deck drinking wine and watching the stars come out. Typical cozy couple stuff. Nothing strange happened the first night. It was the second night when things got weird. Kelsey woke up at around 3 a.m. She said she wasn't sure why at first. There wasn't a sound, no storm, no wind. Just an overwhelming feeling that something had changed. When she opened her eyes, she immediately noticed a faint glow in the living room down the hall. Not like a light had been turned on, but more like the TV was on, playing something bright. She nudged Daniel awake. He groaned and told her to go back to sleep, that she probably forgot to turn the TV off. But she knew they hadn't used it that night. Still, Daniel got up, walked down the hall to the living room. When he got there, he froze. The TV was on, playing static, volume muted. And here's the thing that made his stomach drop. The remote was on top of the TV. This wasn't some smart flat screen. It was one of those older models, no voice activation, no weird Wi-Fi features. The kind you have to use the remote for. So how did it turn on? Daniel turned it off, checked the sliding door locks, which were still secure, and came back to bed, chalking it up to maybe a glitch or a timer setting. But that was just the beginning. The next day, Kelsey said she felt off the entire time. She kept glancing out the windows like something was watching her. Not someone, something. Every time she looked at the dunes, she swore she saw movement. Not birds, not the wind, not shadows. Movement, like someone ducking just out of sight. She told Daniel, but he brushed it off. Said she was freaking herself out. Still, he agreed to close the heavy blinds in the living room that night. Except here's the thing. They didn't stay closed. At around midnight, Kelsey got up for a glass of water and saw every blind on the first floor had been opened again. Even the one behind the couch, the one Daniel had nailed shut because the sliding mechanism was broken. They didn't hear anything. No doors, no creaking, no footsteps, just suddenly open blinds. Daniel grabbed a flashlight and searched the entire house. Nothing. Doors were locked, windows secure, no sign of a break-in. That night, they slept in shifts. The next morning, they called me. They didn't want to freak out their families, but they wanted someone to know. Daniel asked if I could check online to see if anything strange had been reported in the area. Break-ins, wildlife, anything. I found nothing, until I checked a local forum. Buried in a thread about OBX ghost stories was a comment from someone talking about a watcher in the dunes. I almost scrolled past it thinking it was just campfire nonsense, but then a sentence jumped out at me. If you see blinds open by themselves, leave. That's not wind. That's him trying to see inside. I didn't even know what that meant, but I screenshotted the post and sent it to Daniel immediately. He didn't reply. For 4 hours. When he finally texted me back, his message was simple. I think we're being watched. Later that night, I got the full story. Daniel had gone outside to grill dinner while Kelsey took a nap. At one point, he looked toward the dunes, and for just a second, he saw a shape, like a tall, thin man crouched halfway up the sandy slope, perfectly still, not moving, just watching. And then he blinked. Gone. He sprinted inside, locked everything, and that's when he realized the power had gone out. Kelsey woke up panicking. The room pitch black, the house dead silent. They huddled together with their phones and called the electric company, but they said no outages had been reported in the area. And then, the scratching started. Slow, deliberate, coming from the back sliding door. Daniel grabbed a kitchen knife. Kelsey turned off their phone flashlights, hoping to see through the glass better. They waited. The scratching stopped. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 taps. Slow, as if someone knew they were inside and just wanted to remind them. I see you. Daniel didn't say it out loud, but that's what he felt in his bones. That whoever or whatever was on the other side wasn't trying to get in. It was trying to scare them. The power came back on a minute later. Everything, lights, fridge, AC, roared back to life like nothing had happened. But they didn't sleep that night. They packed up before sunrise and left the keys in the lockbox before driving home. No breakfast, no beach, no goodbyes. Kelsey still swears to this day that they were being hunted, not by a person, but something else. Something that didn't want them there. You can still find that house on Airbnb, but you won't find any reviews after August 2022. Not one. Just an empty listing and a note that reads, temporarily unavailable for maintenance. This story was told to me by a woman I dated briefly, Alina. She was quiet, artsy, lived alone, and worked as a freelance illustrator. I never would have imagined that someone so calm could carry a story so deeply disturbing. Alina had taken a solo trip to a rental beach cottage in Maine one fall. She loved traveling alone, said it helped her clear her mind, especially during creative blocks. The cottage sat high on a bluff, the ocean crashing below it. There was a narrow, private path that led down to the beach, but otherwise the place was isolated. The nearest neighbor was a quarter-mile away. She had been staying there for a week, working on a book project, painting seascapes and meditating. But after the 5th day, she stopped painting completely, stopped sleeping too. What happened started small, a single wave of something unshakable. On the 3rd night, she was woken by a knocking sound, not at the door, but at the bathroom window. She didn't panic at first, thought it might have been a branch tapping from the wind, even though the air was still. She peeked out. Nothing. She closed the blinds and went back to bed. The next night, it happened again. Same time, 2:37 a.m. Knock, knock, knock. She checked again. No wind, no animals. The bathroom window sat high above a rocky patch behind the house. No human could have reached it. There was no ledge, no ladder, nothing nearby to climb. She started to get nervous. But night 5 was when things took a turn into something truly terrifying. She had taken an evening nap and woken up groggy at around 11 p.m. She made herself some tea and was sitting on the couch, sketchbook in hand, trying to recapture some artistic momentum. That's when she noticed something off. From the corner of her eye, she saw movement in the large window that faced the sea. It was a big floor-to-ceiling pane, the one that made the rental look so attractive in the listing. During the day, it filled the living room with light. At night, it became a black mirror. She turned to look at it directly and froze. There was a girl, just barely visible in the reflection. Long dark hair, pale face, no expression, standing directly behind her, just watching. Alina says she didn't even scream. She bolted off the couch, whipped around, but no one was there. The room was empty. Her chest tight with panic, she turned back to the window. Nothing, no reflection, no girl. She ran from room to room, phone in hand, turning on every single light. She didn't find anything. Eventually, she calmed herself down enough to think it was her mind playing tricks. She even searched waking hallucinations and convinced herself that stress and sleep deprivation might have caused it. Except, she hadn't been sleep deprived. She was rested. Her brain had been clear. She didn't sleep that night, though. At around 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. No number, no caller ID, just a FaceTime ring. Now, Alina's not the type to answer strange calls, but curiosity got the better of her. She let it ring out. Then it buzzed again, and again. Finally, she answered, hoping it was a glitch, maybe someone from her contact list with a hidden caller ID. But the screen didn't show a face. It showed a dark, foggy live feed of the beach path behind the house, the one that led up to the rental. She recognized it immediately. She'd walked it every day. At first, there was nothing in the video, just darkness and distant waves. Then, someone walked into frame, slowly. It was a girl, the same one she'd seen in the window reflection. Same long, dripping wet hair, same expressionless face. Only now she was moving closer to the camera. Alina dropped the phone, didn't hang up, just let it clatter to the floor. She grabbed her keys, ran out the front door in socks, and got in her car. Drove straight to the nearest town, some sleepy harbor village about 20 minutes away, and parked outside a diner until morning. The next day, she returned with the local sheriff. She told him what happened, fully expecting him to think she was out of her mind, but he didn't. He just asked her, was she wet? Alina nodded. He sighed, rubbed his face, then told her something she'll never forget. People see her from time to time, usually in the fall. Always women, always alone. She walks the path, watches from the bluff, stares into windows, and then disappears. Apparently, the area had a local legend about a girl who drowned off the rocks below the bluff in the 1940s. She had been staying at that same cottage with her parents. One night, she snuck out to meet someone. No one ever found her body, only her shoes left at the edge of the cliff. According to locals, the house was built after her death. She was never buried, never found, and never left. The sheriff told Alina he couldn't make her stay and she didn't need convincing. She left that day, refunded the remaining nights, and never went back. She tried to rationalize it in the weeks afterward. Stress, projection, imagination. But there's one thing that still bothers her. Something that doesn't make sense. When she reviewed the call logs on her phone, there was no record of the FaceTime. None. It never happened, at least not officially. But the video, the image of that girl walking the path in the dark, getting closer with every second, that never left her mind. She painted it over and over again. She showed me the final one before we stopped talking. It was titled simply Tuam 237, and in the corner in tiny gray letters I almost missed, She'd written, "She's still there. I think she's waiting."